Hi, this is Millie Kay, and it's Saturday, October 7th, 2017. The subject of this video is the Lost Powerhouse above the Oroville Dam. And what you're seeing is a print of this Lost Powerhouse. It's called the Big Bend Powerhouse, also the Las Plumas Powerhouse. And it was built by the Great Western Power Company in 1908. And I'll show you on this map, this Google map, how it sits or sat in relation to the Oroville Reservoir. Here's the Oroville Reservoir, and right here is up on the North Fork of the Feather River. You can see here's the South Fork, Middle Fork, and here's the North Fork. And right where the West Branch is, comes in, right around in there, is where the Big Bend Powerhouse is, or was, and this is where they built a dam in 1910. The Big Bend Dam is here, and then way up here, about 40 miles away, is Lake Almanor, and that's a reservoir that was created when Great Western Power built the Canyon Dam. And the reason they built this is so that they would have a bigger and more reliable supply of water for the Big Bend Powerhouse down here. They found that they just couldn't produce power consistently with the fluctuations in the flow of the Feather River. So when they built the powerhouse, let me go to a view of the powerhouse and the town of Las Plumas. This is the Big Bend Powerhouse and the Feather River, and over here is the town of Las Plumas. And this town developed because that's where the employees lived who built the dam, and they would get across here on like an overhead tram until they built a bridge. And there were 1,100 employees, and the project cost was about $12 million. So once it was built, Great Western Power Company sold the power to Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, and they distributed it to Sacramento and Oakland. And at the time, this power plant had some of the largest penstocks, turbines, and transformers of any hydroelectric plant in the world. And let me show you the good view of it. These are the penstocks that come down into the power plant. And they're coming down off of the mountain because what they did is there was a tunnel that had already been started by miners who were, let me show you this view. This is where the Big Bend power plant is. As I showed you before, this is the North Fork of the Feather River, and then here's where the West Branch comes in. So the powerhouse sat right here. And this is the bend in the river. That's the Big Bend in the river. And here's where the dam that they built in 1910 is. And before that, back in the 1800s, the miners had wanted, and their investors wanted to dry up the Feather River in this area so that they could get at any gold and whatever else they could find under there. And so they built a tunnel that goes from the top of this bend all the way down to here. And they ran out of money and investors, and they ran into problems because the bed of the river was really difficult to mine, had big boulders, and so that tunnel was already partially completed when Great Western built this power plant. So they just improved and lengthened and extended that so that it could provide water to the power plant. And those penstocks that I was showing you, those provide a hydraulic head of about 465 feet for the power plant. This is a shot of the inside of the power plant, where you can see the generators. All the way up here. Here's one of the Pelton wheels that was used in the turbines for the power plant. Pelton had invented those in the late 1800s, and you can see the split wheel design. This is just a shot I took of the Big Bend area. This is off of Big Bend Road. I took that in August. It's really pretty up there. So anyway, what happened is, you know, Great Western sold the power to PG&E, and they had always had a very competitive business relationship, adversarial, to be specific. And when World War I came along, it was necessary for this country to streamline energy production efforts. And so a lot of the smaller power companies ended their operations, and PG&E and Great Western were two of the larger ones that stayed in business. And eventually PG&E gobbled up the assets of Great Western and others. And PG&E acquired Great Western Power Company in 1930. So then by 1967, the Big Bend Powerhouse and the Las Plumas community were sacrificed to allow the construction of the Oroville Dam. And by the spring of 1967, the residents of Las Plumas started vacating their homes, and community buildings and those structures were burned, and the areas were cleared away to make room for the rising waters of the new Oroville Reservoir. So the powerhouse was shut down. They took the equipment out and they shut it down in the fall of 1967 as the Oroville Reservoir started filling for the first time. And the Big Bend Powerhouse and the community of Las Plumas now lie underwater. And you can't see the any remains of the powerhouse, but when the lake levels are low, you can still see some of the foundations of some of the structures on the hills of Las Plumas. And Las Plumas is not the only lost community. I just want to say that. It's just the one that I wanted to focus on for this video. And if you're interested in more information about the lost communities, this is the Amazon page of Larry Matthews. He's a local author, and he wrote The Building of the Oroville Dam, and then he and a co-author, Scott what is Scott's name? Oh, it'll come to me in a minute. Roberts. Scott Roberts. He co-authored the Lost Communities of Lake Oroville with Larry. And you can get those in hardback, paperback, and Kindle. And I'll put a link to this in the description box for this video. And another thing I wanted to tell you about is I got some information from the Yankee Hill Dispatch. It's published once a year, and the issue that I looked at for information about this video was the May 2014 issue. And it has a ton of information on Big Bend. I'll put a link to this as well. It talks about the powerhouse, all the mining stuff that happened that led up to the building of that powerhouse. And anybody that's interested in Butte County history, and specifically about the Big Bend Dam power plant and the town of Las Plumas, you'll really like that. So I just want to say thank you to all of my viewers and subscribers. I really appreciate your views and subscriptions. I hope that you will like, subscribe, and share this video, and I'll see you later.